Thanks everybody for having me here today. So yes, AdAlta, listed on the Australian Stock Exchange, our code is 1AD. We are treating a disease called IPF. It stands for idiopathic, unexplainable, and then pulmonary, the lung, and fibrosis. So fibrosis is essentially scarring. So everyone knows what a scar is. You get this stiff build-up of skin. If you've cut yourself, you get a red area. That's an inflammation, and that stiff bit of skin is collagen. When you have a disease like idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, you get that build-up of collagen and inflammation happening, so much so that your lungs stiffen and you cannot breathe anymore. There's a number of diseases where fibrosis occurs. It occurs pretty much in every single organ of our bodies. So in the eye, you get a disease called age-related macular degeneration. In your liver, you get liver fibrosis. Kidney, you get kidney fibrosis. Cardiac fibrosis. 45% of all deaths have a fibrotic component. So our lead drug, AD214, can treat fibrosis, and we're looking at I'll just go back a slide. We're looking at treating idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis in the first instance. So today I'll touch on AD214, but then I'll also talk about, as Chrissy mentioned, our technology. Originally came from sharks, but we found a human version that was equivalent, and we've called that the iBody. So the iBody, we've got a library of 20 billion different iBody compounds. We're looking at generating multiple products. We're going out to big pharma, and we're looking at monetizing that platform technology. So people are coming to us wanting to pay access, and we're looking at completing a number of transactions in that space in the next 6 to 12 months. We've got a very experienced team behind me, and I'll go into that. Very, very strong institutional support. And this month, we just closed a placement and rights issue. We are fully funded for the next 12 months to meet all of the milestones that I'll talk about today. So our code, as I mentioned, 1AD. Our share price at the moment is about 14.5 cents. We've got a market cap of 20 million. We've got about 60% institutional investment. So it includes UR Capital, Platinum Asset Management, Peter Mewers, he's a high net worth, Leon Seri, another high net worth, but we also have a number of other institutions. We've got 5 to 6 institutions in that 60%. So we currently, the March cash was 3 million, but as I mentioned, we've just completed that placement and rights issue of $7 million. So that will take us through the next 12, 18 months and some major value inflection points. I'm the founding CEO of AdAlta. My background is science and law. I'm originally from Queensland, but moved down to Melbourne to be the founding CEO of AdAlta. My background is commercialisation of technology, so taking technology out to big pharma and biotech and licensing and selling that. Our CSO is Mick Foley. He's based at La Trobe Uni, and then Dallas Hartman comes from CSL. Dallas has been instrumental in manufacturing our lead compound over the last 12 months and has made sure that we're on track with AD214 milestones. So significant experience in terms of manufacturing. I'm joined by a board with significant experience in terms of exiting companies. So John Chiplin sold his company, Arana, for 200 million to Cephalon. Robert Peach, a little bit of a bigger sale. He sold his company that he started for 8 billion to Celgene, called Receptos. Paul McClemens, our chairman, significant ASX experience, and then Liddy McCall and James William both come from UR Capital, our major shareholder. I'm also joined by a world-class scientific advisory board. So Brian Richardson was head of early stage R&D at Novartis, John Westwick, head of pulmonary, so the lung drug development at Novartis, and then Steve Felsted was head of clinical development at Pfizer. So these guys between them have got 40 products on the market. You've probably heard of a few of them. I've got a few up there, Zithromax, Viagra, and a few others that you probably have heard of. So IPF, as I mentioned, a really unmet medical need. There's 2 available drugs. They work in about 30% of people. These 2 drugs have massive side effects. So sensitivity to the sun, diarrhea, huge side effects that are in fact debilitating for patients. There's about 300,000 people in the world, in the US, and in Europe, and about 40,000 people in the US die every year. When you're diagnosed with this disease, if the drugs work, you've got about 3.8 years to live. Before these drugs were available, you had about 12 months to live. And they sell about 4 billion of these two drugs that work in about 30% per year. So our drug 8214, here are some slides of it in an animal model. So on the far left, you've got what a normal lung looks like. You can see some air pockets there. In the middle, you see that buildup of that protein that I mentioned called collagen. It's in blue. You can see that there's actually no air pockets left anymore. So the lungs become quite stiff and you can't breathe. And on the right, you see that disease model, the one in the middle, with our drug 8214. So you can see it looks very, very similar to the normal lung. And as I mentioned, our drug has application in a number of different areas of fibrosis. So in the lung, the eye, liver, skin, kidney. But we're really focused on the lung in the first instance. And why is that? We see a lot of commercial interest. So a lot of the drugs in IPF get taken out at the end of a phase 1 study. So you show that it's safe in humans, and then big pharma come in and buy it. So we see the average upfront deal of about 100 million and milestone payments between 300 and 400 million. So we'll be at that stage. We start our phase 1 January next year, so about 6 months' time, and we'll be finishing it in the fourth quarter, but we'll have readouts as we go through that. So the major milestones for us, we've just completed some manufacturing, as I mentioned, of 8214. We've got to now put it into primates and test that that drug is safe. So we put 10 times what we would put into a human into a monkey, and we show that that drug is safe. We then put it into people, so we'll be starting that in January. The other thing which AdAlta has access to is this novel platform technology, which we call the iBody. So originally found from sharks, the shape of the shark molecule, we then humanised it. So we've got a human version of that. We've got 20 billion different iBody molecules in a library. So we can screen it against a number of diseases. So our business model is to say we can build our own internal pipeline. 8214 is one product out of this library of compounds, but pharma and biotech companies can come to us, pay upfront milestones to access the technology, pay us to do the research, and then we'll get paid milestones and royalties for developing when they develop their drugs, their iBody drugs. So we're looking at targeting at least 1 to 2 partnerships within the next 6 to 12 months. So we're looking at monetising, getting some revenue, early stage revenue for AdAlta within the next 6 to 12 months from the platform. Nothing to do with 8214. So you can see in terms of AdAlta's pipeline, we've got 8214, multiple indications. Behind that, we're building our own internal pipeline of iBodies. We signed a collaboration with a group called Accelerate Bioscience earlier this year. That will look to fast track the development of an iBody for the treatment of cancer, so another indication. And then we're looking to do these external partnerships which will bring in revenue for the company. So building out that pipeline of products with 8214 being the first product. And so we see those market benchmarks, which I mentioned about 8214, where you see 100 million up front, 300 to 400 million in milestone payments. But we also see some other comparables with the platform. So AdAlta's closest competitor being Ablinks, they had a camel-based technology. They were acquired by Sanofi, one of their partners, last year for $5 billion. They were significantly further developed than AdAlta. They had 8 products in the clinic. One of those was in phase 3, and they had 8 partnerships. So, but really set the stage for us in terms of following that business model, doing multiple partnerships, having multiple clinical products. We see upfronts anywhere from a few million to 50 million in terms of those platform deals. And the further you are in terms of your own development along that stage, the bigger those upfronts are. So 2018's been a big year for us. We've completed the manufacturing of 8214, a major milestone for us. We've also got some, our Australian patent was granted. We've completed some preliminary non-human primate studies, which will enable us to do that big non-human primate study starting next month. We continue to publish our data in peer-reviewed journals. This is actually pretty critical when we go to partner. So scientific companies, biotech and pharma, are constantly looking in the journals and looking for that peer review of the technologies. We've done that with AD214. It was published in Nature last year. We're also building out that preclinical package for AD214, looking forward to licensing that, where we have data in the lung, kidney, skin, and we've put that together in a package which is with the manufacturing, together with then the non-human primate studies and the human data, we'll look to license. So in terms of expected news flow, over the next 6 months, like I mentioned, AD214 key milestone will be starting and finishing our 4-week non-human primate study. Keep an eye out for partnerships. I don't know when these will happen, but we're looking over the next 3 to 6 months where companies are coming to us wanting to access that iBody technology. There'll be upfront payments, R&D payments, and then future milestone and royalty payments. We're also publishing the data that we've already got in the AD214, but also on the platform. They'll come out over the next 6 months, and we'll also start regulatory discussions with the US. So January 2020, starting our phase 1, and then updating shareholders on the development of the iBody pipeline. So in terms of a summary, we've just completed a raise. We've got AD214, our lead candidate, our lead iBody candidate. It's got significant preclinical data around it, demonstrating that it has application across a number of fields, but we're really focused on taking it forward in idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. We see a lot of transactions at a very, very early stage. We'll be starting that phase 1 January next year, and looking to finish it in the second half of next year. We've got the iBody platform, the technology sitting behind, which we can do multiple partnerships and also build our own internal pipeline. We're targeting a couple of transactions within the next 6 to 12 months, and that will also bring in revenue for the company. I know you've not heard that before, revenue for a biotech company, but that's pretty exciting for us. We've got a cash balance sufficient to fund the company over the next 12 months with the completion of that placement that we did just this month. And we've got an experienced board and management team to enable to do all of these things that I've mentioned today. So thanks for having me.
You went under